Hi everybody, it's Monday, so it's Mondays with Mallory here at the McRitchie-Hollis Museum in our kitchen. 1937 mansion built here in Newnan, Georgia, and it's also the headquarters of the Newnan-Coweta Historical Society. So today I thought that I would take you on a tour of the kitchen, show you some of the appliances that would have been here in 1937, and we're going to talk about pricing today and now, and I think that you're going to be really surprised about how really expensive some of these items would have been at the time. Okay, so here is a refrigerator with a condenser on top, which is actually the more efficient way of doing it for keeping items cold. This would have been about $27. And we also have something unique here. It's a foot pedal. We have a lot of vintage ads. This is basically that same mixer, and this would have been about $8. We have the original stainless steel countertops and the original cabinetry. The stove is not original, but it's of the period. And this ranges in price between $42, now this is all at the time, $42 to $195, $210 if you're west of the Rockies. So if you'll note that it has the smaller oven on the bottom, larger oven on top, which a lot of stoves are being produced like that now. And then underneath the cooktop was nothing really, but you could have used that. That was for waste, or you could use it as a warming oven area. So we have several toasters in our collection actually, and they're just, the whole toaster situation is very, very interesting how they did these things back then. That would have been about $8.50 for that particular unit. Here are some more vintage ads that we have, and I will go ahead and post these in the comments so you can, as a JPEG, so you can look over them more closely. So here's one, an expensive one, for almost $200. And then this one is just $100. Looks very similar, but I'm sure that they have features that, I'm sure the expensive one has more features. So the other thing that we have in our kitchen is this cabinet called a Hoosier Cabinet. And it was basically your baking center. And I'll show you a picture that we have for an ad. And you can see that ours has been kind of modified. You see those triangular things there? They would slide out, and you would put your flour on one side and maybe cornmeal in the other. It had an automatic sifter. So you would put a bowl underneath there, and you would sift your flour, remove the bowl, do your baking, and your leftover flour, you would just pull the bin out and pour it back in there. And really very efficient. This is, the top here is removable for cleaning, and that's what that's called, a Hoosier Cabinet, which was a baking cabinet. They could also, if you saw in that ad, it said that they could adjust the height for however was most comfortable for the lady of the house. Okay, so here we have, this is always fun to do on our school tours. This is a dairy box. Coweta Dairies. We had over 7 dairies in Coweta County in the early 1900s, leading up to about the 50s, I think. And so what would happen, this would live outside, right at your back door. And the lady of the house would use this telephone, and she would call the dairy that she was contracted with or like to do business with, and she would say, I need 2 dozen eggs, I need a gallon of milk, I need heavy whipping cream, I need butter. And so the dairyman would set off in the wee early hours of the morning, and he would put it in this box for you. And they did it in the morning so it's insulated box, and so everything would stay cool. And then the lady of the house would get up and retrieve it and put it in the refrigerator where it belonged, except for the eggs maybe. This is actually our incinerator system. It has a dedicated chimney, and this is how they disposed of all of their waste. They would burn it. I guess we didn't have all that great of trash pickup yet. So just a quick view of that.
Wanted to talk to you a little bit about 1937 and some pricing and some income, things like that. So, as you know, 1929 was the Great Crash. We had the Depression that lasted, we think, about 10 years. But by 1937, things were a lot better. Things were much better. But still, the average wages in 1937 was $1,780 a year. That comes to $148 a month or $37 a week. So a lot of people did not own their homes. They were renting. Rent was $26. So let's go through the differences as compared to today. So income was about $1,800 a year as opposed to $45,000 now. Gas was 10 cents a gallon today, $2.25, although I saw somebody that found it for 99 cents somewhere this past week. A loaf of bread was 9 cents. Now it's $2.31. Hamburger meat was 12 cents a pound. Now it's about $5. But I've seen it for less than that. I've seen it for $1 a pound. A car was $760. Now its average is around $32,000. To attend Harvard was $420 a year, including room and board. Now it is $43,280 without room and board. A movie ticket was 25 cents, and now it's about $10.
This house cost $25,000 to build, and the average price for a house in Newnan at that time was about $4,000. So this was indeed considered to be a mansion in its time. So we have a lot of things in the archive, some old advertising things, and we have matched them up to some various products that we have here in the kitchen. So I want to show you this. This is a percolator. And this is about the same size as a coffee pot today, but this looks a lot more fancy, just a lot more elegant. I would much prefer to have this than that plastic Black & Decker thing that I have. But the handles are Bakelite, which was early form of plastic. But we have traced it back to some of our, I don't know if this is a Westinghouse product, but we have a Westinghouse ad here. And once again, I'm going to take JPEGs of this and put it there at the bottom of this filming. So these percolators averaged in price between $42 and $52. That was more than people made in a week. So I don't know how people were making their coffee back then. I think it was just they boiled coffee in water and then they strained it. I read something interesting about Melita, this lady in Germany who invented the coffee filter. I've forgotten now how many years ago that was. Yeah, so the Bakelite makes that product more expensive. But here's another one. Here's a Westinghouse percolator for $10, as low as $10.50. The Westinghouse Loving Cup percolator set. If you desire, Westinghouse percolators can also be obtained equipped with the famous Click-Song thermostat, $51.25. Here's another one. Where you've more latitude as the price, choose a Grecian urn percolator set. Here is truly irresistible beauty, $42. It also came with little sugars and creamers. So an iron was about $8.75, which I think you can buy an iron for about that much now. The waffle iron was $18. Oh, here's an iron for $5. And anyway, I will make that available to you. Here is an ad for toilet paper. Fluffed bathroom tissues. Here is an ad for noodle soup. 10 cents. How much is ramen? Like $1, right? Here is, okay, so this is for Sears, Roebuck. They have various stoves are $49.85, $37.95, and here's where I got my refrigerator price of $27.75. But the most expensive appliance that you could buy back then was an electric washer, $74. There it is, 74 bucks. No dryer. Okay, this is kind of interesting. I actually knew what this was. I don't know how I knew, but I knew what this was when I first saw it. And I want to show you the little hole in there. Okay, and this is electric. Let's see if I can do that. This is electric. This is a mayonnaise maker. So mayonnaise only really came into being in about the early 1900s. And Hellmann's, to what I found out, is Hellmann's was the first guy. And he was a German immigrant. He lived in New York, and he had a deli. And people loved his mayonnaise, and he started producing it in 1905. And I saw a funny meme the other day. It was a grocery store with all this Hellmann's on the bottom shelf, and it was empty all the way around. And it said, even in a pandemic, Southerners will not buy Hellmann's. And I was not even aware of this Duke's Hellmann's competition until like 5 years ago. I think my mom just bought whatever. But so I did a little bit of research about it, and I want to tell you about Duke's. Okay, Duke's came along. Eugenia Duke in Greenville, South Carolina, 1917. She started making sandwiches for the soldiers at Fort Seaver during World War I, and everybody just went berserk over her mayonnaise. So then she started making it and, producing it and selling it. And then in 1929, the CF Sour Company in Richmond, Virginia bought Duke's, but they had to promise that they would never change the recipe or the name. So Hellmann's supposedly is more neutral tasting, but the Duke's has more egg yolks, has no added sugar, and so it becomes more tangy. The vinegar comes through more. So that's kind of the difference in those. I want to tell you this, that the U.S. spends about $2 billion in mayonnaise today, and Hellmann leads the market with 31%. 24% is held by Kraft, where they came out with their mayonnaise in 1988, and then 15% is Miracle Whip, which I would never eat because it's just loaded with sugar. So this is why would you want to make your own mayonnaise? I mean, they were producing it in 1905, obviously, but the thing with making your own mayonnaise is you can make it flavored. So you put the egg yolks, and if you want Dijon mustard or white vinegar, you put that in there. And then you turn it on, and you're supposed to drizzle the olive oil while it's going. And not olive oil, excuse me. They say don't use olive oil because it's too strong. So whatever oil you prefer, avocado oil, or just something lighter. And anyway, I think that it makes it fluffier maybe if it's going. And so I have a little recipe for you. You can do this in a blender. So here is what makes mayonnaise. And the other reason to possibly avoid mayonnaise is that mayonnaises today are made with soybean oil or canola oil, some things that people are avoiding, PUFAs, polyunsaturated fat. So you can make your own mayonnaise very quickly. You can junk it up with all kinds of stuff. You can make red pepper mayonnaise or jalapeno mayonnaise, whatever you want to put in the blender. So it's egg yolks, it's oil, lemon juice, white wine vinegar, Dijon mustard, and sea salt. And then whatever you want to junk it up with. So that is my lesson for today. I hope that you have some fun and with making your own mayonnaise.